AWL Sports, where we review all the best sports clips from around the world. Now you're probably wondering, why should I watch over here instead of any other channel? And that's because over there, they don't care about what you have to say. They say this all the time. They talk down to us. They think we're just a bunch of clowns on YouTube, Twitter. But I think it's the opposite. I think we know exactly what we're talking about. So I read every single comment. So if you think what I'm saying is the most ridiculous thing you've ever heard, let me know in the comments below. If you think what I'm saying is the most amazing thing, then definitely please let me know. Either way, let's get into some discussions, let's get into some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. So without further ado, let's get to it. We're watching a clip of First Things First, talking about Kyle Shanahan. What's the future of him in terms of with San Francisco or just in general? He's made some pretty big errors throughout his coaching career. I've maintained that this takes time and that you should not abandon him, that he's an amazing coach, a great coach, but needs to grow. It took Andy Reid 19 years to become a Super Bowl champion. He had to make a lot of mistakes over the years with the Philadelphia Eagles and some with the Kansas City Chiefs. And then in order for him to get over the hump, he had the Patrick Mahomes. Now, there seems to be some debate whether or not Andy Reid has much to do with Patrick Mahomes' greatness, which I think is absurd, and I barely even want to entertain that thought, quite honestly, because Andy Reid is clearly one of the best coaches ever, as proven as what he did with Philadelphia with not great coaches. And Kansas City Chiefs fans and Patrick Mahomes fans just seem to forget that, conveniently. But regardless, if I was the 49ers, I would not be abandoning Kyle Shanahan, even though he definitely has made some mistakes. But where do you think you're just going to magically get another coach as good or better than Shanahan? If it was that easy, then a lot of teams would be significantly better, and they're just not. So let's see what they have to say, and we'll go from there.
Welcome back to the show. Maybe Kyle Shanahan should have opted to play defense first in overtime. Maybe not. We don't quite know. But man, Florio went the whole way, huh? Pumpkin alert. Chiefs coach Andy Reid got a fresh start, albeit after 14 seasons with the Eagles. Shanahan already has 7 years with the 49ers, and he's lost 2 Super Bowls. I think it changes, He brought him to lost 2 Super Bowls. At what point will it be in his best interest and or the team's best interest to have a reboot?
This is so stupid.
Losing his job.
That is the dumbest question ever. It really is.
My pal.
Okay, we'll start with you. Will Shanahan eventually need a restart?
I don't think the Niners should believe anything other than we want Kyle Shanahan as our coach as long as we can possibly have him. For Kyle, here's the thing, and I promise I am not taking a shot at Brock, but he knows how hard it is if you don't have that guy at quarterback. And that's why, and now it ended up being the wrong decision, that's why they traded 3 first-round picks for Trey Lance. Because he wanted finally to be in a playoff game and say, you know what, fair fight. If not, actually, I've got the better dude, as you would put it, coach, at quarterback. And the Niners, now at this point, kind of a victim of their own success. Unless Brock Purdy takes what I would consider to be a massive leap or two, they're never going to have that guy unless they all then, get super lucky in the draft, because they're not going to draft high. And so I don't think the Niners should want to move off Kyle Shanahan, but I do think if Kyle Shanahan's like, man, the next time a Justin Herbert type job comes open, I would understand if Kyle Shanahan was like, man, that would be fun to be able to coach that type of guy.
Coaches.
That's all.
Look, I think first Kyle does have to look in the mirror. Like every coach has their flaws, including Andy Reid, Belichick, all that. And he's got to look at the things he has not done. And maybe I would imagine he's doing this. But look at the clock management and why haven't I done some of these things in these big games? Like he's really got to sit down, and if it means bringing somebody alongside you that helps you with those things, you got to do that. So that's number one. I think next year is critical for them. Because, and I think to your point, how long he stays, because he might want to go somewhere else. Some of it may depend on Brock Purdy. Does he show next year that he's really that guy? Not just he has another good season like this, but does he show you that Oh, he can carry you. You can't just win with him. He can carry you.
Yeah. What's up? He's just in overtime against what you guys calling the GOAT quarterback. He's just in overtime.
But
Brock Purdy took Patrick Mahomes to overtime, this great defense, to overtime. It's like maybe he's not the guy.
Well, no, I think you just want to see more. Like even CJ Stroud, I want to see it another year.
He's gone to the Super Bowl or NFC Championship, 4 out of the last 5 years? And he lost in overtime to Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs with his third defensive coordinator in 3 years. And they built continuity in the organization. They took a quarterback that was the last pick in the draft, and he's been incredibly successful. I think Brock Purdy's made a lot of strides over the course of that time. And we say reboot, like Andy Reid, suddenly decided, hey, I don't like Philadelphia anymore. He got fired. They fired him after he went, 4-12. And his reboot happened to come with Patrick Mahomes. That's
not immediately.
Not immediately.
But that's really what it is.
But there's a lot of other coaches that are rebooting, like Sean Payton's rebooting in Denver, and it's not going as smoothly because he's got Russell Wilson. So
Exactly. And I don't understand, this is what I kind of said at the top with Shanahan. It's just like he's had tremendous amount of success. And was it did Shanahan make some mistakes? Of course. But was it Shanahan's fault that Christian McCaffrey fumbled? Was it Shanahan's fault that there was the fumble on the punt return? Was it Shanahan's fault for the mixed extra point? No. And those were key things. Was it Shanahan's fault that Trey Lance was a bust? No. So it's just not fair. You can't always judge the circumstance based off of the outcome. You just can't. I mean, think about it. Think about you as an individual, okay? You as a person. If you go out and you're trying to date someone and you ask them out on a date, okay? And they say, no, I don't want to go on a date with you. Does that mean that you're just a bad person? Does that mean that you're just an unattractive person? You have nothing to offer anyone, that you're just not good enough? Or was it just that person didn't want to date you, or that person wasn't interested in you? Right? And of course it could be both things, right? In some circumstances, it could be that you're a terrible person, and that you're an awful person, that no one wants to date you. I hope that's not the case. Or it could just be that they just weren't attracted to you. It just is what it is. That's just the way it happens. So that's why you can't just be an outcome-based judger. We just know that's not the reality. The Chiefs easily could have lost that game. The 49ers easily could have won that game. And then what are we talking about? We're not having that conversation. The conversation is how many Super Bowls can Kyle Shanahan and the 49ers win, right? But instead, a fumble here, a fumble there, a missed extra point. It's like, all he did was need one more first down in the fourth quarter when it was like 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 4. It's all they needed to do was convert that one first down. And then they would be able to kick the field goal and, give the Chiefs the ball back with either like no seconds left or like literally like 20 seconds left. And they would need a touchdown, not a field goal. So that's the difference. That's the difference. And you can't just put that all on Shanahan. He went back-to-back years to NFC Championship games, and it could have been back-to-back Super Bowls. So, and he's doing this with Brock Purdy, which, again, I know there's this big debate whether or not Brock Purdy's this amazing quarterback or a bust. And I think it's somewhere in between. I don't think he's a bust at all. I've already talked extensively that I think Brock Purdy is a, really good quarterback. But he's obviously not next level elite. He doesn't transcend space and time that, say, a Tom Brady or a Patrick Mahomes does. And surprise, surprise, they're the two considered to be one of the best the best quarterbacks in the history of the game, and their respective coaches are considered to be two of the best coaches in the game, in the history of the game, and they're attached to the two, elite of elite quarterbacks. So what bar are we setting for Shanahan? The Shanahan should be able to just win all these Super Bowls with not this transcendent quarterback of someone on the level of a Mahomes or Tom Brady? Like, how is that fair? And so I just, this idea that the 49ers should, it's in their best interest to move on from, listen, by all means, I would love to have Kyle Shanahan as my coach, without a doubt. And, there's the argument that it was the right call for Andy Reid to be fired by the Eagles. I think it depends. I think it's easy for fans to formulate opinions with regards to that. But I think it's a lot harder especially because he was there for like, what was it, 14 years, 15 years, whatever it was. It was a long stretch of time. Now you have to look at it from a business perspective. From just a production and winning perspective, it makes sense to keep him. But if you're also just like, all right, if you're the owner or the GM and you're just like, okay, we've been doing this for a while, we need some new blood, we need something different, we need some more challenges, we need to move on. Like it's just a different energy that we do not understand because we are not in there day to day. So it's just a different experience. For all the owner just really started to not like Andy Reid that much. He didn't like the explanations that he was giving, right? When Andy Reid said, when they were saying, hey, why are we losing? Why aren't we winning a Super Bowl? Andy Reid may have not done a good job of explaining it. And he didn't, come off as good in those moments. And so, Jeffrey Lurie was like, you know what? I want something new now. I'm too old for this. We need some new blood. We need some new opinions in here. Let's go. Like, that's just business. It's just a different mentality in that regard. It's easy just to be like, well, look how much he's won. Of course you should just keep him. And so with Shanahan, I think in the front office, as long as he still makes you feel comfortable and you feel happy and content working side by side with him, and he doesn't rub you the wrong way, and you are having tremendous success, you are consistently one of the best teams in the NFL year after year after year, and you're doing so without a next level quarterback in his prime. Because even if you think Brock Purdy's amazing, he's not in his prime yet. Then you have to tip your hat. He got to the Super Bowl with Jimmy Garoppolo. I mean, he's unleashed this offense. Now, and again, and as Mangini said, he's had 3 different defensive coordinators. That's really hard. That's one of the benefits that Andy Reid has with that consistency in Spags. So you can't compare yourself to the Andy Reids of the world or the Bill Belichick's of the world and expect those levels of success. And say, but you're supposed to be able to do that, but do it with less than what those guys had. Because how does that make sense? It's what I always say about Dak Prescott. You're expecting to pay the amount of money that you're expecting. You pay Dak Prescott Patrick Mahomes money, but he's not as good as Patrick Mahomes, and then you expect him to play like Patrick Mahomes. It's like, that doesn't really make sense. And it's the same thing with coaching in that regard. You're expecting Shanahan to be able to do Andy Reid things and Bill Belichick things, but do it without Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. It just doesn't make sense. Also, on the long enough timeline, Andy Reid got a massive runway of time. So it's just difficult. And the other thing that I'll say, the last point that I'll bring up is that when you're winning, everything is just amazing, right? Everything's amazing when you're winning, you're winning, you're winning. And when you're losing, it's like you're in free fall, right? It's like, oh my God, you can't, it's just a short-term memory. It's like, my God, we got to get this guy out of here. And that's just not the way things work. It's just not. And you look at Sean McVay, okay? Sean McVay won 1 Super Bowl. And he lost 1 Super Bowl. And besides that, he's like, had some moments where he like kind of got close to Super Bowls, but not really. Not really. You're not really like, oh man, the Rams, gotta look out for them. You're not like that. They won the 1 Super Bowl, and they were very fortunate to win that Super Bowl. Again, they earned it, absolutely. No ifs, ands, or buts. Matthew Stafford, amazing, had such the no look play in the Super Bowl, all that. But there is a world where Joe Burrow gets the playoff and wins that game, and then they don't win that Super Bowl. Or Tom Brady is able to rally back. Right? If Tom Brady was just maybe a couple years younger and wasn't near the literal end of his career, maybe he's able to come back and fight and knock out Stafford and the Rams. And then they don't win. Then they don't win the Super Bowl. Does that mean Sean McVay's a bad coach? No. And just because Sean McVay has a Super Bowl and Kyle Shanahan doesn't, does that mean, well, Sean McVay is just automatically a better coach? I don't know about that. Because it seems like Shanahan has way more success, way more consistent success. He hasn't reached the true goal of winning a Super Bowl, but his teams are better, way better year after year after year compared to the Rams. I mean, that's just a fact. I mean, it really is. They've gotten farther and more consistently in the playoffs than the Rams ever have. And if you want to blame that on injuries or GMs, that's fine. You can do that. But then if you're going to do that, then you have to make the same argument and say, well, get Kyle Shanahan then a top 3 quarterback. Get him the Joe Burrow. Get him the Justin Herbert. Get him the Josh Allen. Get him the Patrick Mahomes. You know, do everything you can to set this up so then they would have been able to get, you know, Caleb Williams or someone like that. It's CJ Stroud. But instead, you made all the moves and you got someone who ended up not being a good quarterback. And that's not Kyle Shanahan's fault, especially because if all reports are true, Kyle Shanahan did not want to draft him. Trey Lance, as a quarterback. Which means they would have either drafted someone else, which then who knows, or those picks would have been used for it to make the 49ers even better. And who knows what position that would have maybe been. You know, someone on defense, offense, you just don't know. So that's the way I see it. I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts on this one. Please let me know in the comments below. What do you think they should do with Kyle Shanahan? Do you think he should move on? Do you think he should want to leave the 49ers? Do you think the 49ers should let him go? Please let me know. Would love to hear your thoughts. Please don't forget to subscribe. As I said, we are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.